All right, let's jump right into a true classic. Today, we're breaking down Robert Kiyosaki's 1997 game changer, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, this book isn't for some Wall Street expert. It was written for pretty much anyone who feels like they're playing by the old rules of money, but just aren't getting ahead.
Right off the bat, the book hits you with a really powerful question. Are you stuck in what he calls the rat race? You know the feeling, right? It's that endless cycle of working for a paycheck, paying your bills, and then having almost nothing left, which, of course, forces you to work even harder just to tread water. It's a trap. And this book promises to show you the escape hatch. So, how does he explain all this? Well, the entire book is built around this really simple but brilliant story, the tale of his two dads. One was his actual father, a super educated guy with a safe government job, who honestly struggled with money his entire life. That was his poor dad. And then there was his best friend's father, a guy who dropped out in the 8th grade but went on to become one of the richest men in Hawaii. And you guessed it, that was his rich dad. Wow, this slide just lays out the difference perfectly, doesn't it? I mean, look at this advice. It's polar opposites. Poor dad thought money was basically a problem and that job security was the holy grail. His advice? Go work for a great company. Rich dad, on the other hand, saw money as a tool and freedom as the ultimate prize. His advice? Go own the company. This huge difference in mindset, well, it's everything. And that brings us to the big idea, the main takeaway of the entire book. It's a concept that completely flips what most of us are taught. See, the poor dad way of thinking is to trade your time for a paycheck. But the rich dad mentality, it's all about building systems and buying things that make money for you, even while you sleep. And that is the key to getting out of the rat race for good. Okay, so we get the mindset shift. But what about the how? Let's get into what is maybe the most powerful practical tool in this whole book. Kiyosaki basically says if you learned only one thing from him, it has to be this: the difference between an asset and a liability. First up, assets. And the real genius of this book is how simple it makes this. Forget all the complicated accounting jargon. Rich Dad's definition is all about one thing: cash flow. An asset is anything, a stock, a rental property, a business, whatever, that puts money into your pocket. Simple as that. And a liability is, you guessed it, the exact opposite. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. Think about your car payment, your mortgage, credit card debt, basically anything that shows up as a bill every month. And here it is. This is the punchline. The reason the rich get richer, according to Kiyosaki, is because they spend their money buying things that generate more money. They buy assets. Meanwhile, the poor and the middle class spend their money on liabilities, like a fancier car or a bigger house, all while thinking they're buying assets, and that's what keeps them stuck. All right, let's dig a little deeper into the philosophy here. I've pulled 5 quotes directly from the book that I think really capture that rich dad way of thinking. This first one is so important. Rich Dad's point was that your number one asset isn't a stock or a house. It's your brain. If you train your mind to see opportunities and to understand how money really works, that's what will create wealth, way more than any job ever could. And here we are, right back to that core theme. This just drives it home. Financial freedom isn't really about working more hours or chasing a bigger salary. It's about a complete mental shift from being an employee of your money to becoming its boss. Now, this next idea, minding your own business, can be a little confusing. Rich Dad wasn't saying you should quit your job tomorrow. He meant that while your job pays the bills, your real business should be on the side, quietly acquiring assets. Your profession keeps you afloat, but it's your asset column, your business, that's going to make you rich. I love this one. See, poor dad was terrified of making mistakes, but rich dad saw mistakes as learning experiences. You can't learn to ride a bike just by reading about it, right? You got to get on, you're probably going to fall, but you get back up. Financial intelligence, he says, is built the exact same way, through experience and a little bit of calculated risk. And to wrap this section up, we come full circle to the most important lesson in the entire book. Seriously, this is the filter for every single financial decision you make. Before you buy anything, just ask yourself, is this going to put money in my pocket or take it out? Answering that one question honestly is the first giant step. Okay, so the book is inspiring, for sure. But is it the perfect financial guide? Well, not exactly.
So let's be real and break down the good and the not so good.
Okay, on the plus side, its greatest strength is definitely its simplicity. It's an incredible tool for just shifting your entire mindset about money. That asset versus liability idea, it's clear, it's powerful, and you can start using it today. And you just can't argue with its impact. It has genuinely changed millions of lives. But, and this is a big but, the weaknesses are pretty significant. The book is super light on the actual how-to. It's all anecdotes, and people still debate if Rich Dad was even a real person, with zero hard data to back any of it up. The advice can be really vague, which makes it feel more like a motivational speech than a practical playbook.
So all that said, our final grade for Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a 6.6 out of 10, and here's why. As a book to completely rock your world and change your mindset about money, it's a 10 out of 10. It's brilliant for that. But because it lacks those concrete steps and research, we just can't give it a higher score as an overall financial guide. So what's the one thing you have to take away from all this? It comes back to that simple, powerful distinction between an asset and a liability. If you just apply that one filter, does it put money in my pocket or take it out, to every single financial choice you make from now on, you will completely change your future. It's really that powerful. Now, if Rich Dad, Poor Dad lit a fire under you, you're probably wondering, okay, what's next? So let's look at a couple of great books to keep that momentum going. If you want all the hard data and research that Kiyosaki's book was missing, you have to read The Millionaire Next Door. It's a deep dive into the actual habits of real-life millionaires. But if you want to go even deeper into the mindset and the philosophy of wealth, you've got to pick up the all-time classic, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
And we're going to leave you with this one final thought. Let's apply the lesson right now. Think about the biggest purchase most people ever make, their home. Using Rich Dad's simple definition, is it putting money in your pocket every month, or is it taking money out? The answer to that question might just change the way you look at everything.